All right, what's going on, guys? Honda Classic Week 2022. Let's get into the insight right away. Okay, we're looking at the players to watch. I covered this event a couple times, 2015, 2017. Had a chance to talk to Louis Oosthuizen, and I'll get to that in a minute. He's up there in the rankings. Of course, on DraftKings, you're looking at 11,000 M at the top. I don't have a problem really with any of the guys kind of listed in the first 10 or 12. I mean, Louis at 10,800. You've got Koepka there at 10-1. Neiman coming off his huge win at Riviera at 10-6. Fleetwood 9,900. I like that for him. He's a great iron player. This demands good iron play. So that there's really nothing in my estimation that's mispriced off the top. But when you look at Louis Oosthuizen, I'm a huge fan of Louis O. This guy, T14 at Phoenix, right? Last tour start. I spoke with him at the 2017 Honda Classic with Louis, and I asked him, what is it about this course that you like? And he said he loves the course, the shot shaping it requires off the tee, but also coming into the greens. And the other thing, you really have to think around this property. You can't put it in autopilot. You really have to use your mind and really be a problem solver around this golf course. The wind he relishes around this place. He actually lived here for a while with his family at Old Palm. He was a member just down the street. He knows the weather that's expected. This week, we've got 12 to 15 mile an hour winds, so he knows it can get very windy around the property. So he's comfortable with that. Oh, yeah, this guy won a Open Championship by 7 shots at St. Andrews in the wind, in very windy conditions when he beat Paul Casey. So I think Louis Oosthuizen knows what he's talking about here. This particular week, he's first in greens and regulation, okay, coming in 14th shots gained tee to green. To the point about greens and regulation, I spoke with Michael Bestor, who's a caddy for Kevin Streelman, and he talked about this specific course and what it demands. Why are greens so important? Well, the Bermuda lies, chipping off a tight Bermuda around these greens, not a recipe for success. So you got to stay around that. Demanding par threes, it makes it extremely important to drive it straight off the tee and hit greens with the way this course is set up on the par fours and par fives as well. So you really have to keep an eye out for that. It really shows, I think, why Louis is a great pick at 10,800. I know it's a high number, but he's worth putting in your lineup for daily fantasy. I will go now next as we go down the line. I really, as I said, don't see a ton of value in the nines. I don't think anybody's really mispriced. When we get to the 8,000s, Mackenzie Hughes at 8,300. He finished runner-up here in 2020. I love what he brings to the table at this course. 66 on the weekend. Now, particularly, he's 9th in scoring average this year. This is a tough golf course, right? This is the 6th toughest golf course in terms of scoring on the PGA Tour last year. So when you have a guy that continues to make birdies and continues to score well, I love that about him. 9th in scoring average. Shots gained putting, he's 6th. So you're going to get into trouble. Everyone's going to get into trouble, but this guy knows how to putt and knows how to close the deal. That's a big point in my estimation. I talked with his caddy, Mackenzie Hughes' caddy, Jace Walker, and he said his world-class short game is huge around PGA National. That's going to be something to keep momentum going. And he's also so mentally tough. You have to keep that in mind. That's kind of what we were talking about a little earlier with Louis, not putting things into autopilot. You have to be tough around this golf course. The harder the golf course, the better, is what Jace Walker, Mackenzie's caddy, tells me. Well, you know what? These guys were through 3 rounds, 2021 U.S. Open on a very tough golf course at Torrey Pines. They were right there, tied for the lead, sharing the lead. So these guys know their way around a place like this. The greens are way firmer. Now, here's some insight you're not going to hear from some of the normal fantasy insiders for this week. The greens are way firmer than previous years, is what Jace Walker tells me. So you have to hit fairways, even more of a priority on that, and control your ball and spin coming into the greens. Even more the point why you got to like Louis Oosthuizen. Even more the point with his, obviously, greens and regulation first. But the point with Mackenzie Hughes, I love what he's done at this golf course. That second place finish is massive. So we'll see how it goes. I like it. 8,300, I think that's the best value kind of in that range. I don't really see anyone else in that range. I know that you've got experience from guys like Gary Woodland, I think it's 8,200. Russell Knox, 8,100. Russell was in a playoff in 2014, so you do have to remember that. But if you're talking about a player, I think the X factor with Mackenzie Hughes is just around the greens, right? Everyone's going to get into trouble. So I think you have to pick him over those other two I just mentioned in the low 8,000 range. So there's Mackenzie Hughes. And then beyond that, I would actually look at other players. As you get down into the late 7,000s, I would look at Ryan Palmer. He just jumps out to me big time. Okay. I know that he's played this course a ton, but look what he's done at this golf course since 2012. Ryan Palmer jumps out like crazy because since 2012, he has gained shots in 2 major categories at this golf course every time he's played it. Okay. Off the tee and tee to green. Okay. And that's really where this comes down to. As we said, the wind's going to be up as it always is at this golf course. Very hard to hit greens, very hard to avoid water. Palmer's had a hard time among many, but he's a great pick this week. I love what he brings to the table on harder golf courses. And his caddy, I talked to James Edmondson, his caddy this week. He says, if his game is clicking with his ball striking, this is the perfect course for Ryan Palmer's game. Sets up well, keeping the ball in play. Those are big strengths of his. Iron player, a great driver of the ball. Last couple of weeks were the opposite of what PGA National is for him in his game. You know what? It's very easy for you guys to look at Ryan Palmer at the last couple of weeks, saying, "Oh, well, you had to miss the cut at Pebble, and you got to be careful for this guy." You know what? He still gained 2 shots approach to the green on a miscut at Pebble Beach. That's the kind of value that you're going to get from Ryan Palmer coming in at 7,900 this week. That's why I like him in that late 7,000s range. You got to round up your lineup. He's a great guy to finish that out with. Compare him to Taylor Moore, who's also listed at 79,000. Okay. Taylor Moore has never played this golf tournament. I think that is a knock against him. You have to have experience around here, in my opinion, if you're looking for value in daily fantasy scoring. He is 34th shots gained off the tee, so he's a better driver of the ball than Ryan Palmer, and I see that. But really, that first time at Honda, there's so much pressure. The Bear Trap, remember, it was playing 230 shots over par last year, 15 to 17, that tough stretch. So I really like Palmer, and look at Palmer's experience. Amazing experience here at Honda. Well, amazing. Okay. Am I overselling it? Maybe. But look what he's done. He was in a playoff in 2014, finished second there, tied for second. In 2019, he was 4th. In 2020, he was 17th. So there's so much, I think, that helps back up the Ryan Palmer case. Oh, and the other point about wind with Ryan Palmer, okay? He tied for 4th at the Scottish Open last summer. Very windy place there, Renaissance Club, exposed, a lot like PGA National. So I really think, and I think with what James Edmondson, his caddy, told me about the tougher the game, the tougher the course demanding, the bigger advantage for Ryan Palmer. If his game is clicking with his ball striking, this is the perfect course for Ryan Palmer. And I think we're seeing that. He played well at Torrey Pines. This is a guy that you cannot overlook in the late 7,000 range. Go after Ryan Palmer. The other person I'm looking at, as you go down into the lower sevens, Sam Ryder, 7,200. Now, the last couple starts have been pretty good. T26 at Riviera, T23 at Phoenix. Now, you don't necessarily look at his numbers and think, okay, wow, he's gonna absolute ball strike the heck out of it. But you know what? Look at what his numbers do. Look at what Sam Ryder's numbers do at Phoenix a couple weeks back. 27th off the tee, 36th approach to the green, and shots gained tee to green 21st. Combine that with a player who putts so well. He was 11th in shots gained putting last week at Riviera against, was that an elite field or was that an elite field? Okay. It's the best players in the world, 11th shots gained putting. So put all that together in the recipe, and Sam Ryder showing recent form with off the tee, irons, short game, everything you need going into a course like this. I asked Sam Ryder, what is the key to Honda Classic and playing well, PGA National? You know what he said? Strong iron play. That's what he's looking at, right? That's key for this week. Compare him to another person in the same scoring area, or I should say the same range, 7,200, Taylor Pendrith, rookie on tour, Canadian. Good young player, 16th in distance, so a better driver of the ball than Sam Ryder. But it's his first time playing PGA National. This is a tough golf course. Wind's going to be up 12 to 15 mile an hour. The greens are playing very, very fast. Jace Walker Mackenzie Hughes' caddy told me that they are playing a lot slicker than usual, which means a bigger priority on iron play, being in position and putting it close. Shots gained off the tee for Pendrith has been pretty good as well. 39th this year. So I can see why you'd lean towards him, but I'm angling you towards Sam Ryder. Oh yeah, if you're talking about a good iron player, somebody who can deliver under pressure, what did Sam Ryder do there at Phoenix, right? Yeah, hole in one on 16. Does the stage get any bigger on a par 3 than that? Michael Bestor, caddy for Kevin Streelman, as I mentioned earlier, he said demanding par 3s is a huge aspect of PGA National, and you're seeing good iron play coming from Sam Ryder going into this week, and you've got to love that confidence from Sam Ryder that he's able to deliver a hole in one at Phoenix. So I think all this points well for Sam Ryder. So that's our pick there with Sam Ryder. I would look at him in the low 7s, and I think that will kind of complete. And as we go through all these notes, you see me, I'm just relying on my notes. So it's a throwback to Tim Rosefort, who, as you guys know, lived in this area, lived in the Palm Beach Gardens, and this is the first Honda Classic without Tim Rosefort on site. Well, really, actually, without him being with us anymore. So really a shame. But I do want to give a shout out just to the memory of Tim Rosefort. He encouraged me so many times over the years. I just remember seeing him at this event, but also at the Open Championship. I saw him at, the 2018 U.S. Open, very last day, basically, or excuse me, very last people, me and Tim, on Friday late. You know how late those days go, 9 p.m. We're the last people there waiting for a young player who amateur just turned pro to finish, Mickey DeMorat, to finish his round, and we were the only guys interviewing him. And you know what Tim Rosefort said? Rosie said, Mickey, thanks for this interview. I know Garrett wants to talk to you now. I'm going to hand him off to you, but I just want to say thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to tell your story. It's an honor to tell you and your family's story. Tim Rosefort, okay, this is the Tom Brady of all journalists, saying this to a completely unheralded pro. I mean, it's just an amazing thing when I think about the legacy of Tim Rosefort. That's just one experience, one exchange I had with him. But man, it's just what a guy. I mean, you should think about the second time I met him in 2013 at the Masters, and I went up to him and I said, Rosie, I'm plugging along, trying to get there with my career. He says, yeah, I'm always curious. Tell me when you get traction in your golf writing career. Just keep nagging me, keep talking to me. And I remember it just always stuck with me that he did that. So anyway, shout out to Tim Rosefort, the memory of Rosie, here this week at Honda Classic. Hope you guys like those picks, and that's all I got.